with Steve Gruber.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. Today is Monday, March 25th. Coming to you live from Western North Carolina today. We'll talk more about that coming up. Let's get to today's top stories. A New York appeals court has halted the New York Attorney General Letitia James' assault on former President Donald Trump as the court ordered a 10-day pause and cut the bond from $454 million to $175 million earlier today. I'll be discussing this with the new chairman of the Dallas County GOP, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Also, Ronna McDaniel facing backlash as she settles into her new position as a paid contributor at NBC News. I'll give you the details and tell you what show host Little Chucky Todd had to say about this new hire from NBC. And then later, the latest polling numbers indicate that entrepreneur and successful businessman Michael Markey is the Republican frontrunner for Michigan's 3rd Congressional District, one that Republicans hope to flip. He's someone who's built a successful business and created jobs for Western Michigan. Stick around because Michael Markey will discuss his plans if he takes office and flips that seat, that is, from blue to red. In another sign of the tremendous weakness in the Donald Trump political persecution charges and trials, the New York Appeals Court slashed Donald Trump's bond payment 68% from $464 million to $175 million. They're now extending his time to pay for 10 more days. And the left-wing media wasted no time showing its disdain for the ruling. Here's how MSNBC covered the breaking news.
This appeals court allowing the former president to post a smaller bond of $175 million within 10 days. David, what does that tell you?
Jose, it tells me something that you and I have talked about before, and that is the playbook is different for former President Trump. We were literally talking about this the last time you and I discussed this case. I expect for them to do something for him that's different than what you see for everybody else when they go to courts.
Yeah, the playbook's different, all right. Not that way, just laughable. Nobody else in America would have had this judgment ruled against them, especially with all parties being made whole. Nobody. This is all about political persecution. And speaking of that, I want to start today with this from President Trump. While he was entering court in New York for his bogus hush money trial, which also started today, he kept it short, sweet, and to the point. Listen.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is a witch hunt. It's a hoax. Thank you.
Yeah, a witch hunt. He said it's all a witch hunt and a hoax, which is becoming more clear every day. But I want to extrapolate on that just a bit, because you could define all of today's politics as a witch hunt and a hoax. The witch hunt is what they're already doing to Donald Trump, and the hoax is what the Democrat Party is perpetuating and perpetrating on the American people. You. Because if you ever thought the left would go quietly after the disastrous presidency of Joe Biden, as we have all witnessed, if you thought they would just slink out of the room silently and in complete shame, as they should for what they've done to you and the country, well, you would certainly be wrong. But my guess is most of you already figured that out. They have no intention of leaving, not peacefully, and they hope not ever. Of course, most politicians never admit they're wrong, any of them. But this is so much worse, isn't it? Just so much worse. They have pummeled the economy, left the southern border wide open, overseen a massive spike in violent crime all over this nation, and entangled us into positions of weakness and vulnerability in foreign wars that could lead to our direct involvement before it's all over, and that pushes us to the brink of World War III. And if you think that's just rhetoric, you're not paying close enough attention. Yes, Democrats and the weak-willed, spineless Republicans that let it happen should all apologize loudly for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but instead, they're stepping on the gas to step on your rights as American citizens, targeting free speech as hate speech, and treating speaking up and telling the truth as some kind of crime in modern America. They want to demolish the First Amendment. I mean, demolish it. And that is just a good start from their point of view. They want to criminalize driving your car to work, heating and cooling your home, having hot water, or even having a refrigerator to keep your food cold. They want to criminalize all the things that make first world countries, well, first world countries. They want to divide you by race while screaming racism. They applaud the lowering of standards under the misguided idea that somehow, by doing so, the world will be a better place. And that also feeds the fictional need of more diversity, equity, and inclusion, as if I picked my doctor based on race or gender. Newsflash, I don't. They have spent the past 20 years or more coming after Christians and painting Christians as the bad guys in America. They've also shown their true colors when it comes to Jews as well. In fact, if you are a follower of either, you're almost certainly a racist, a white supremacist, or a white nationalist. And according to this administration, you are the biggest threat to this nation. That, of course, is all a lie. But they don't care. You see, they don't care about that. They don't care about you or your kids or your quaint little church and quaint little church family. They don't care about those things at all. In fact, they only care about two things: power and money. Over the weekend, the Democrats and their weak-willed, spineless Republican cohorts unveiled a new constitutional assault on you, if you missed it. They announced there is a brand new effort to come after your guns, one that is completely illegal from what I can tell, but again, they don't care. Here's Vice President Kamala Harris laying it out.
The second reason I am here is to announce that today I am launching the National Resource Center for Red Flag Laws. And this National Resource Center will be a place where we will, through that, provide for training for local leaders on how to use red flag laws and keep communities safe.
Yeah, here comes NERPO. NERPO sounds like a Sesame Street character, but it is the National Extreme Risk Protection Order. And NERPO means they can confiscate your guns if someone files a complaint. Many states have these so-called red flag laws in place already. In fact, every state in the union has some form to do this. And I want to be totally clear. This is what they're going for. And I say they because this is not something Congress put together. This is not something your member of Congress or your senators voted on. No, this is another unconstitutional power grab by Joe Biden and his ever more lawless administration. So, okay, instead of coming right at you, they work around the edges. They're not going to come right at you and say, hey, we're going to take your guns. They're not going to do that. They're going to work around the edges and disqualify as many people as possible from owning guns quietly, very quietly. I mean, if you were jammed up and the police came and pounded on your door and demanded you surrender all of your guns, who would you tell? I'm guessing a whole lot of people wouldn't tell anyone. They'd be embarrassed. And over time, they'll continue to use every tool in the toolbox to make people forfeit their God-given right to self-defense and self-preservation. They'll scan social media. AI will scan social media, analyze where you live, study what you watch on TV, look at what kinds of things you buy from the store, and what stores you spend your money will all be considered. All of it. Yes, this is happening. And it's just the latest brazen assault on you, your country, and of course our Constitution. None of this is legal. But who's fighting back? The attack on us from all directions is happening faster all the time. I call it the quickening. And they're getting really good at it. If you can keep people off balance, you can really get some things done. And they know that by going down roads like this. They have a shot at keeping power forever, which is the goal. It may not happen this year, but it's not that far away unless things change. You know that, and so do I. Which brings me to the Republican cowards. The Republican cowards who once again caved in and let the Democrats dictate spending another $1.2 trillion that keeps the debt rising and the likelihood of a debt crisis rising too, which means bankruptcy for America. A debt crisis means bankruptcy for us and a devaluation of the dollar. Among the worst of the cowards are those that are tucking their tails between their legs and running for the hills. Listen to this.
You left Congress as of Friday, just as that was all going down. I guess that didn't cause you to rethink your decision?
Not at all. Not at all. No rearview mirror. Happy to move on. Dysfunctional place.
I mean, you must have been pretty intensely frustrated to not only not run again, but to leave early. And you're not alone, obviously. Mike Gallagher just said he's leaving too.
Yeah. Well, since this Congress started, there have been efforts to impeach the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the President, the Attorney General, the FBI Director, and in fact did impeach the Director of Secretary of Homeland Security. Serious problems with setting priorities. We have a very tragic circumstance in Ukraine. We have a spiraling debt. All kinds of out-of-control problems, and we focus on messaging bills that get us nowhere.
Now tell me, How is Ken Buck helping the mission of saving the country by being a coward? How is he helping Republicans do their jobs by going on media and bashing them? He's not. He's serving himself, of course, that's for sure, but not the country. And for far too long, far too many Republicans have acted the same way. We obviously know about the full frontal assault on Donald Trump, even though he got a win today from the New York Appellate Court. And he spoke about that win earlier today when coming out. Here it is.
Judge Gruber has done a terrible disservice to the state of New York. What he's done is terrible. Businesses are fleeing, and you see that. We just released a statement on Truth. Businesses are fleeing, and crime is flourishing all over the state. And what he's done is such a disservice and should never be allowed to happen again. New York State is being battered by his decision. So I greatly respect the decision of the appellate division, and I'll post either $175 billion in cash or bonds or security or whatever is necessary very quickly within the 10 days. And I thank the appellate division for acting quickly. But Judge Engoron is a disgrace to this country, and this should not be allowed to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And like I played for you earlier, Democrats are still somehow trying desperately to say that the legal system in America is biased toward Donald Trump and not against him. It's incredible. Here was MSNBC a few hours before the appellate ruling was issued to give you an idea what the flavor of the day was. Listen.
I'm just thinking that we have been carrying this fugitive from justice in our history literally for over 3 decades, before he even became a real public figure, appearing on The Apprentice and running and winning the presidency of the United States. And I used to think I had some sort of an answer, that he, was a master of focusing in on people's anger and resentment about things around their lives, and that's one of the reasons he won. I no longer have an answer to it. I mean, he's been around and survived all of these incredible, weighty legal and political issues, and he's still here, still a free man. I have no explanation for this, Joe.
Yeah, and guess what, Mike? That's not going to change. Even if you still try to perpetuate the witch hunt on Donald Trump and the hoax on the American people, guess what? They're eroding our freedom slowly. But if they can take down Donald Trump with no consequences, what do you think they will decide to do with you if you step out of line? Consider that for a moment when you're making your plan to vote for the November general election.